Rock with Zion, a rock life, live. It's a love thing.
Rock with me. Rock with me. Hey, everyone. How are you doing? This is Zion, Rock Life Live here. Thank you for joining me today. This is a love thing, your 3-day fix. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. We have a special guest. If you were here the week before last, is presidential candidate Robby Wells. We have him in the house. Tonight. If you know anything about Robby, we're looking for him to be our new president 2020. I want you to listen to all the awesome things that he has been doing. He actually was trying 2012. He actually started off 2012, and he will be doing his thing, and he's rocking it really well with what he's doing right now. And I want you guys to listen in, tune in, and hear all the wonderful things that Robby is doing. Robby Wells in the house.
Hello, Zion. How are you this evening?
I am well. Thanks for asking. And how are you?
I am doing just fine. I want to say hello to all of our friends across the country that are listening in right now, and to all of my Hispanic American friends. Hola a todos mis amigos. Levántate.
I love it. So, well, I would love for you to go ahead and just do a small recap, let everybody remember who you are. And then we'll go into what we're going to talk about today, because I'm really excited about a few things that we had spoken about earlier to share with the audience.
Well, before I do that, I want to give a shout out to all of my campaign staff and supporters across the country that are listening in this evening. Thank you for everything that you guys do. This campaign would not exist if it was not for you and everything that you guys sacrificed to make this a reality. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping this good old American guy have a chance at taking the White House here in 2020. My name is Robby Wells. I am seeking the Democratic Party's nomination for President of the United States in the upcoming presidential election in 2020. My candidacy is a little bit different from anyone else that's going to be running, not only as a Democrat, but as a Republican as well. My candidacy has a platform called Eaglenomics. I take the absolute best from the left wing and the right wing. I believe if we're going to have a president representing the people, he truly needs to represent all of the people instead of just half the people. I believe it's time that we elect a president that sees the beauty in both wings and actually works with all the people instead of just half of our country. We've all heard the phrase, make America great again. I truly believe that America has been good, but we will achieve greatness for the first time when we erase the lines of separation that have divided our nation since the beginning of our country back in 1776. So we do have a great plan. We're excited about this plan and the opportunity that's been placed in front of us. Just like any business or any campaign in this country, you can start from scratch, start from nothing. And if you work hard, you can give yourself a chance at victory. It doesn't mean that we are guaranteed victory, but we do know this: if we ever give up, we are guaranteed defeat. Therefore, we never quit.
That's what I'm talking about. And last week when we were talking, we had mentioned and left off with today. and you have this great idea with the vets to be help in a lot of our very overwhelming, trying times of tragedy that's happening, by way of things have happened in Vegas and different areas where there were shootings. And so I wanted you to go ahead and talk to them a little bit about recapping where we're talking about the veterans and how they can actually help not only the citizens, but also would be a blessing to them as well as far as jobs are concerned.
Well, Zion, you're exactly right for bringing that up again, because this is a hot topic right now. I came up with this plan back in 2012. 6 years ago, I came up with a plan that will protect every child in every school across our country by taking our unemployed veterans, screen them, train them to get the right ones in place, and let's put them back to work in every school across this country as guardians for our children. The greatest asset of our nation is our people, and the greatest asset of all of our people is our children, our youth, because they are our future. Mm-hmm. So we need to protect them. We protect people when they get on an airplane. We protect people in all sorts of situations, but yet we're not protecting our own children in schools. That makes absolutely no sense to me. When I become president of the United States, this is going to be part of my agenda that we're going to push to Congress. And if Congress does the right thing and they put that bill on my desk, I will sign it into law, making sure that Vets for Kids becomes a reality so that we can put this gun violence in the schools to rest and never have to worry about that again.
Yes, and that's, and that was a big topic to me, too, as far as the youth are concerned, because, as far as us being able as adults to make sure that the children, our youth, are getting the education that they need, and not only that, but the love, it's really a love thing. And that's what I like to put in everything. When we spread the love by way of good service, people helping people, I think that's what's going to transform our country. So just those vets helping and, building up relationship. I think even if it was an intimacy of relationship, learning how to respect each other and each other's position. And I know a big question the audience would love to probably know is that knowing some of the vets that have gone through a trying time themselves when they were, in different wars and so forth, and some of them can have trauma, want to understand how will you guys be choosing the veterans to actually, be a big part of helping those that's in need?
Well, if you look at statistics, veterans that come back from war situations, yes, some of them do have PTSD, but if you look at the statistics, there have been some that have tried to hurt themselves because of the PTSD, because they get so frustrated. But it's a very, very small percentage. It's less than 1/1000th of 1% that would ever become dangerous to other people. So that within itself lets us know that working with the veterans would be a pretty safe bet, number one. Number two, we would want to screen them and train them to make sure that they are capable individuals to actually be in those situations. Because, think about Sandy Hook Elementary School up in Newtown, Connecticut. That was small town USA. And if you take 1,000 days over the course of, let's say, 3 years, and every one of those days is laid back and it's just a sweet little town, but then that one day occurs and a psychopath comes into that school, you've got to have some individuals that can spring into action to make sure that that psychopath is dealt with and minimalized very quickly. I don't know of anyone better to take on this role than our veterans. They've already taken an oath to protect the people of the United States. So who better to protect our future, our young people, than these veterans?
Yes. And so would that be, because, once you get in office, as what I've seen with politics, is that, once they get in there, and you have all these different people that's working with you, what would be would this be something that you would be working with first, trying to push, which is, to protect all of our, citizens all over? Is this one of the things that you would be pushing, Robby?
I am pushing this for the schools across the country. This would basically employ right at 500,000 veterans. At the same time, I'm going to encourage churches and the private sector as well, such as movie theaters, any sort of outing where that you've got a lot of people, social gatherings such as sporting events, festivals, whatever. You basically could take the same principle, hire these veterans as guardians for the people that are actually going to be there to maintain order. And I think if we do that and we start taking care of ourselves, that's going to make a better United States. We worry so much and we're concerned so much with taking care of other nations with foreign aid. I believe it's about time that we use some of that money, instead of using it on foreign aid, to use it on our own people to enhance our way of life here and to protect our people.
I agree with you 100%.
We actually have done a cost analysis on this, and we can actually put a veteran in every school for every 500 kids. If you put one veteran in that school, that would be sufficient. So if you've got a school of let's say 2,000 students, you could have 4 veterans. We could pay those veterans at a rate of $2,000 a month. And basically at 500 kids, you're talking about 20 cents a day for each one of those students. So you're talking about $1 a week. Now, my question to you is this: would parents be willing to pay $1 a week to make sure that their children never had to be subjected to an incident like Sandy Hook Elementary School or like the school in South Florida just 3 weeks ago?
Right. And that's so necessary, because just parents having a peace of mind, just along with them having to deal with, life itself, paying the bills, whether they're entrepreneurs or just busy at work, and just having the heart, is my child okay? Right. Is my child okay? And that does help, especially if we're knowing that the vet is helping them at the same time. You do have something in place that making sure that they are physically and mentally and emotionally ready to take on a position, something like that. Because you have your young vets too. I mean, you have people that, younger vets that do like 4 or 5 years in there, in the military as well. So, I mean, you do have a lot to choose from, and a lot of healthy and mentally and emotionally well-kept, veterans. So I really think that's an excellent idea, and just moving on to the DACA and Dreamers, since you were talking about too, let's say, you can say immigrants and so forth. But I wanted to touch bases on that as well. The Obama actually had created this DACA program as an executive policy decision. And I wanted to go over that, what Trump, has the power to try to reverse this policy. And would you like to go ahead and tell me a little bit about what you feel about that?
Yeah, exactly. It was President Obama that, under executive order, protected over 800,000 of the Dreamers. Dreamers, for those of you out there that aren't familiar with that term, that is people here in the United States that came here as children with their parents. Their parents came in undocumented or illegal, as the right wing likes to call them, but they came in undocumented. But these dreamers have gotten their education. They have gone on and gotten jobs, and they're giving back to this country. They have no felonies. They have no major misdemeanors. You're talking about good people. And President Obama actually signed an executive order that would protect them and their living status so that they could stay here in the United States. The current president that we have reversed that executive order, and now we've got over 800,000 of these dreamers, and their status and where they're going to be living is up in the air. Now you've got federal officials that could actually come in and deport these people. We're not talking about thugs. We're not talking about bad people. We're talking about people that have been doing things the right way. So I do not agree with our current president, President Trump, for reversing that executive order that President Obama put in place. And I will say this, when I become president, we will go back and we will make sure that the dreamers are taken care of.
Yes, and I know this, who those dreamers are, because most of the dreamers are from like Mexico, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras. The largest numbers live in California, Texas, Florida, and New York. And right. I mean, they're aging 15 to 36 years old. And like you said, these people, they're dreamers. They came, they getting their education. And something like this really supposed to take place, I think this month, March 2018, throwing almost 800,000 people into turmoil and fear about having to be deported back, I think at least by 2020. Is that correct?
That is correct. What I will tell you is that this is a major issue in my platform to make sure that we bring awareness to this problem, and to put enough pressure on the administration that we have in power right now, so that this will not be enforced, and that we can have time to actually get in there in the next 4 years, starting in January of 2021. So that we can actually reverse the decision that President Trump has made.
Yes. So definitely, because that is, I'm sure, going to be a heartfelt situation with all those who've really, put everything they could to be a part of this country and the education and so forth, and that just can change their lives immediately. And it's amazing. One thing though is 2020, so the time that you're in there. So thank God that is something that you are paying attention to, because it is totally effective. 800,000 people. That is extensive, and I don't know even where to begin to think of how, to get something like that executed where we can save all this knowledge.
Well, here's some of the problems that you have with it right now. If you think about this, Zion, some of these dreamers have families of their own now. They have children. And, of course, if those children were born here in the United States, those children are now citizens. So what is the federal government saying they're going to do? Are they going to break apart these families and send back the actual dreamers and leave their children here? So you're talking about opening a can of worms and creating some problems that I really do not believe that we need to go down that path. The United States has always been a beacon light of freedom for people around the world. In fact, everyone in this country came from somewhere else, unless the people that are here are Native Americans. In fact, I think if you went and you asked those Native Americans about a lot of these that are talking about illegal immigration, and a lot of the ones that are talking about illegal immigration are white America. And I guarantee if you talk to the Native Americans about it, it was like, you know what? It was those European Americans that actually came here illegally to begin with.
Exactly. And
now that puts it in perspective.
Well, I want the audience to understand this. You know, when Trump announced this, I mean, he promised to rip up DACA immediately and make the deportation of the U.S. estimate. I mean, it was 11 million undocumented persons, you know, which is a top priority. And then it was along with his threats to ban all the Muslims from entering the United States and to build that wall along the border with Mexico. You know, even though he has not yet successfully executed any of these threats right now, still we know that these things are in effect, and we definitely have to be productive in, you know, trying to make something, you know, viable to help these families. So
Diane,
I want to go ahead.
I want to add this real quick, and we've got a current president that said that we were going to build a wall on our southern border between Mexico and the United States, and that he was going to get Mexico to pay for it. Now, that has not occurred, and I do not believe it is going to occur, and I do not believe that Mexico is going to pay for it. But I do believe that I can get Mexico to pay for a wall. If we built if we go to Mexico and say, listen, we want to build a wall around Trump Tower there in Manhattan, I'm sure that Mexico would pay for that, and they would pay for it 3 times over.
I bet they will. And you been there? Have you been there? Have you been there yet? To Mexico?
To Trump Tower or to Mexico?
To Mexico.
I have not been to Mexico. Now we have it on the agenda to actually go to Central and South America this year. Of course, last year we were in Europe, we were in Asia, when we went to China and we went to India. We also went to Paris, France, and when I started this movement, the Rise Up movement, I was hoping and praying that this would become a national movement, and I never in my wildest dreams would have thought it would have become an international movement. But we literally have people on every continent in the world now that are a part of the Rise Up movement. It's really amazing to see what's happening.
Oh, I love it. Well, I want to go ahead and go to a break. I want you all to stay tuned and plan for us coming back here with presidential candidate Robby Wells, and we're going to talk about plans for getting free college, which I'm excited to hear about, and sustaining energy. I want you to stay tuned and rise up. We got a lot to talk about.
Get my praise on, get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on, I gotta get my praise on. It's not enough to sing the song, it's not enough just clapping along. I gotta get my praise on, get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on, I gotta get my praise on. To sing the song, just clapping along. I gotta just clap. along. I gotta get my praise on. Get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. Just sing the song. Just clapping along. I gotta get my praise on. Get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. It's not enough to sing the song. It's not enough just clapping along. I gotta get my praise on. Get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. Just sing the song. Just clapping along. I gotta. It's not enough to sing the song. It's not enough just clapping along. I gotta. I gotta get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. Just sing the song. Just clapping along. I gotta get my praise on. Get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. It's not enough to sing the song. It's not enough just clapping along. I gotta get my praise on. Get my praise on. I gotta get my praise on. I gotta get.
You are listening to Jerry Royce Live Worldwide Podcast.
What time is it, listeners? It's pastor's time. I am Dr. Paul Kelly, praise the Lord, coming soon to Pastor's Time International Ministries on March the 20th, 2018 at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard on Positive Power 21.org, Worldwide Christian Media. The legendary ambassador, Dr. Bobby Jones. Yes, you heard it. Dr. Bobby Jones, known as Mr. Gospel, and Bobby Jones presents Impact Network TV. For 31 years, this gospel icon has presented a weekly television show that promotes his unique anointed musical genre. It was the largest running show in cable television history, a mainstream on BET, but played a larger role in the spiritual gospel greatness in the African American culture and our contributions to the gospel industry. Join us live in this honorable interview with the legendary ambassador, Dr. Bobby Jones.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Today we have special guest, Robby Wells, presidential candidate for 2020. And he's been talking about DACA and the Dreamers. And we want to go ahead and move over to the plans. Let us know what the plans you have for free college here, Rob.
Absolutely. You know, we are the only Western industrialized nation that does not have free college tuition for our citizens. And under my administration, we will be pushing for free college tuition at all of our state colleges and universities. I know the problems with education. I was an educator for 20 years and a collegiate football coach. I know what we need to do to fix it. I know how we're going to actually pay for tuition as well. Right now, it takes, and there may be some people on here that do not agree with this, but let me give you a little history lesson. Back in the 20s, the federal government had what was called prohibition against alcohol use, and they did everything in their power to imprison those that were out here making illegal moonshine, alcohol, whatever. They realized fairly quickly they were not going to be able to win that battle, so they reversed that and said, okay, instead of trying to beat them, since we can't, we're going to actually legalize it and then regulate the industry and tax the industry and create a lot of revenue dollars. Right now, we spend roughly $60 billion a year in college tuition. at all of our state-supported colleges and universities. But once again, just like alcohol, we have another substance that's on the prohibition list, and that is marijuana use. Now, I do not use marijuana, and I don't drink alcohol, but that's going to be around whether it's legal or whether it's not. So, as president, what I intend to do is save $30 billion a year, which we are wasting right now trying to chase down young people and put them in jail for using marijuana. I want to save that $30 billion by decriminalizing the use of it across this country. Then I want to regulate and tax that industry, which will create another $30 billion. That's $60 billion right there that we're going to use each and every year to make college education free for all of our people that are going to the state schools, the state universities, the state colleges. It's about time that we get in line with all these other universities in other countries, especially the Western industrialized nations. Believe it or not, if you go to Europe, there's actually some nations that pay their students to go to college and get a degree. That's the direction we've got to start moving in. You know, back in the 70s, the United States was in the top 5 in education. That has plummeted, and now we rank 36th in the world in education. There's 35 countries, Zion, that are ahead of us. That is not good enough. We've got to start educating our kids at a younger age and educating them to a later age. The free education system that we have right now goes kindergarten through 12th grade. This system was set up over 100 years ago, back when a middle-class family could do very well just by having one adult in that family with a high school diploma. Well, times have changed and we have progressed. And now you need to have one, possibly two adults in that household raising children with college degrees, which means that we've got to get with the times. Now, I know there's a lot of conservatives out here that are saying, no, we don't want to have anything free when it comes to college education, but we're getting left behind. And this is a situation where we've got to start catching up with a lot of countries that are ahead of us.
So for those 35 countries, and it looked like we did take a big dip as far as education is concerned. Now, what are some of the programs that they're utilizing that's different than what we're doing here in the U.S.?
Well, another thing that they're doing is universal child care. They're educating at a younger age, and this is something that I'm also pushing for, universal child care. We've got 17 million single moms right now that are raising over 20 million children here in the United States. That's roughly 25% of our children that are being raised in a single-parent home. Now, most of these young ladies cannot afford child care because on average across this country, it's a little over $300 a week to put one child in child care. So you're talking $1,200 or more a month just to put a child in child care so that mom can go back to work. Now, here's the problem. Okay? If this single mom does not have a college degree and she's only getting minimum wage, her minimum wage for the month is not even going to cover the child care. So that's a major problem that we have. That's why we need to have universal child care, not only for the single parents out there, but also for the dual parent homes. But we're going to free up our adults that have had children so that they can go back to school and they can go back to work. It's a way of revamping our welfare system, if you would. But it's also a way of educating our people at a younger age to a later age, which will get us more in line with all these other nations that are ahead of us right now.
Right. So this universal child care, would it be something that they can sign up for, or it be, and Cause I'm telling you, the way they have the system now is that soon as, the mother has the baby, they want them to go right back to work. I mean, we're looking at maybe giving them 3 to 6 months, if that, to go back into work. For me, how I see it is really, that's what's breaking up the home. Like you said, you have all these single parents. Then now you have the system that's raising the child instead of the mother raising the child, and my thing is, I really want to get into how to get the family back into order. So that way that, the mother is actually raising her child. So, what are your thoughts on something of that nature?
Well, I'm actually working with my advisors right now, and we're putting together a plan that's going to encourage these single men out here in the United States to step up and be the man that they claim that they are, but we need them to be, and educate them on what being a real man is, and stepping up and being a father figure. Not only being a father, but being a good husband as well, so that we can get back to the basics. Now, I understand that we do have single parents, and a lot of my friends were raised in a single parent home, and they've done very well, but it's very difficult. It's very difficult. So you've got all these young men out here, and we're gonna encourage them and challenge them to step to the plate, not only for that family, but to help save our country.
Yes, and that's what's necessary, because it's all about family. It's all about community, because the family is what makes the community. And this is what it's a love thing. And the love thing is this, is that order, and everything has to be in order. Everything has to be decent in order. And it has to come to a place where parents can really be parents. Single parents have to have help. We have to help each other. People have to help people. That's the only way that we're going to be able to, transform this country, from the top, to the bottom. It starts with the head and the president, the politics, the government. So just being able to get them in a position where they can, get that help, and men really taking their positions as well as men, and maybe even helping, not so much of just trying to take care of their family. There's so many women out there too, much more than men. Of course, they always say it's like 10 women to one man. So then you have a lot of sisters out there, I call them my sisters, that really need to man up, so that they can, like you said, the veterans, they can help that way, because you got the single moms, and they have to leave their children in class, and they don't have that male figure to help in the household. And I love the ideas that you're having, the things that you're really working on to make a difference in this world, because it's really all about order. And once everybody get their position, then it's going to help as a community, and it's going to help stop from the top and trickle down into the communities and the families.
Well, if you look at the city of Chicago, now Chicago is considered the deadliest city in the United States because of the murder rate. But yet, if you look at the unemployment rate of the young African-American males in Chicago, you're talking about over 75%. And it's gone up and down, but it fluctuates a little, but it stays right there close to 70 to 75% annually of unemployment rate of these young African-American males. Who is getting hurt here? Who is actually failing? Well, our government has been failing these young men in Chicago, for instance, and really across this country. So if we want the murder rate to go down in these cities, I venture to say that the best way to do that is to create great paying jobs so that we can get people off the streets and get them back to work. If we can get them back to work and get them back into a family situation, it's going to make a better city. It's going to make a better state. It's going to make a better country.
Right. Well, my take on it is rise up and take our nation back. And the way that we do that is going to line up with the principles of God. And that starts off with family, family. And, to make sure that the wife and the husband and the children have come to where they're putting their house in order. A lot of people are so caught up in the world and getting these things of the world and making these things happen. So we really have to come to a place where how can we get these homes in order, so that way that's going to spread out to the community, so that we can actually work together as a people. And working together as a people is going to do what? It's going to make even the presidency better, because you're going to have these communities and families that's coming as a one love, as a one mind, and a one goal to make things happen. So I just want to see if you would like to go ahead and wrap things up, or we can go ahead and continue next week with the 3-day fix, Mr. Wells.
Well, listen, it's been truly an honor to be on the show again tonight, and we do have a great plan that's going to address a lot of the issues that we're facing here in the United States right now. America's not easy. America can be flat out hard at times, but we live in a great country, a country that has a lot of different ideas. In fact, it's okay under that First Amendment that we can actually say those ideas. I say that we're a great country. We're a good country. We can be great, but we're going to have to do some things to become great. We're going to have to lay aside our differences. We're going to have to start working together, hand in hand and side by side. It's time for us to stare down the fear of our differences with the face of courage. We're going to achieve greatness one day, but that day is going to come when we erase those lines of separation that have divided us. These lines that I'm talking about are due to race. They're due to gender, sexual orientation. These lines have got to be erased, and the only way they're going to be erased is if you've got leadership that is actually going to identify the problems and identify solutions to those problems. We haven't just identified problems with this campaign. We're identifying the solutions to those problems. I thank each and every one of you for this opportunity to come into your homes and speak this evening. May God bless each and every one of you. May God bless these United States.
Thank you, and thank you for being a part of Robby Wells, presidential candidate 2020. Definitely follow him. He's definitely an awesome candidate as far as what he has in, what his rooting and grounding and where he believes in. It is something we definitely want to be a part of. We definitely want to be a part of. So thank you for tuning in with Zion Jones with I Love Things, your 3-day fix. And until next week, we'll be here, same time, same place. Looking forward to seeing you. Royalty rocks. Thank you for joining.
You're listening to Jerry Royce Live Worldwide Podcast.
Hey. Yep. No reason. Something to uplift your spirits. Turn this up. Roll your windows down. It feels so good to be a child of the king. You know what I'm talking about?
It's funny how you're making me feel as I linger to be all up in your presence. Your touch, your voice, your will. I admire and desire your heaven. Lord, you mean more to me than anything this world could offer. Even at their very best, at your simplest you put them to rest. You brighten up my days. Your life is light to me. I can't get enough of you. I gotta have more. You brighten up my days. Your life is life to me. I can't get enough of you. I gotta have more. Your loving is good. Fills me up with all that I need. Your loving is good. You supply my every need. So good. Can't get that you're good, so good.
Let it breathe, right? Let it breathe, right? Let it breathe, let it breathe. You ready? You ready? Come on, come on. Retalk.
I can go all of my days, try my hardest to praise and thank you, but I can't give enough praise, because you are so much bigger than my effort. You took what was dark in me, purified and made me new. Now I feel what you've been showing, and I wanna give my all to you. You brighten up my days, your life is light to me. I can't get enough of you, I gotta have more. Your loving is good, fills me up with all that I need. Your loving is good, you supply my every need. So good, can't get enough, you're all that I need. I gotta tell everybody, sing it to the wind that you're good, you're good. Your loving is good, fills me up with all that I need. Your loving is good, you supply my every need. So good, can't get enough, you're all that I need. I gotta tell everybody, sing it to the wind that you're good, so good to me. You are, oh you are, so good to me. Oh you are, so good to me. You are, oh you are, so good to me. Oh you are, so good, fills me up with all that I need. Your loving is good, you supply my every need. So good, can't get enough, you're all that I need. I gotta tell everybody, sing it to the wind that you're good, so